Look at that. So good. Hey everyone, I'm Nia. Welcome back to another episode of What's for Fika. For those of you who are new here, just a little refresher on what Fika is. It is like a planned moment in the day to sit and enjoy some coffee and usually a little sweet treat with either your friends or your coworkers or your family. And on today's episode, I'm going to show you how to make Swedish pancakes. We're also going to make a homemade, very easy raspberry jam to serve on the side. And it's one of those recipes that I have so many great childhood memories from because my mom used to make them so often. So I'm excited to show you how to make them. They're super similar to crepes, as you'll see, but for some reason, I just feel like they're a little better. I'm gonna walk you through some of the ingredients we have. This is just for the raspberries, and then for the pancake batter, we obviously will have more stuff, but I have some fresh raspberries, a little bit of lemon, and then sugar and some salt, and that's pretty much it. I have a little saucepan. Usually I would assemble it before adding it to the stovetop, but I just wanted to preheat this before we started filming. So I have about a cup of fresh raspberries. If you want, you can use frozen too. It really doesn't matter that much. Frozen, I will say you might have to cook it for just a little bit longer because the frozen raspberries are gonna have more liquid. So I like to just start out with fresh. I always feel like it's a little better and it takes a little less time, I think. A little bit of sugar. I'm gonna do a pinch of just regular kosher salt. For lemon, in the recipe, I call for 1 tablespoon. Usually in a lemon, depending on the size, there's about 2 to 3 tablespoons of juice per lemon. So if you end up with a little more, it's not a big deal. I also kind of like that acidity, lemony flavor. Sometimes I go a little heavy with lemon, but that's kind of it. And now I'm just gonna stir this. I'm gonna let it cook on here for about 8 to 10 minutes. If you want your jam to be super thick, you could cook it for longer, but I like it to still kind of be a little bit like a compo in a way, so I don't cook it for too long. The acidity in the lemon juice helps to kind of activate the pectin in fruit or berries as we have here, and that is what kind of helps to thicken the jam. If you don't add lemon juice, you're gonna end up with more of a compo and it's just gonna not be as thick as if you do add it. You could theoretically just like walk away for a little and let it cook without stirring it, because as it cooks, the raspberries are gonna break down, and so you're not gonna have to mash them that much anyway, but I like to kind of give them a pre-mash before letting it simmer for a few minutes. We would often do like butter and a little sprinkle of sugar. That was probably my favorite. And then whipped cream, which we're gonna serve with these today. Really, any type of jam. I feel like blueberry jam is really good. Or in Sweden, you have a lot of lingonberry jam. That can be a little bit more savory sometimes. Then also lemon juice is a really common one. And sometimes, this might sound a little weird, but sometimes we would even, if my mom wanted us to get our fruit in the morning, if we were having it for breakfast, we would take like a whole banana, put the banana in, do a little sprinkle of sugar, a little lemon juice, and like roll it up, and you just have this like banana, I don't know what you would call it, but like a rolled banana in a pancake. Those are kind of the main things, and then brown sugar, really anything you have at home. And also my parents now live in Vermont, and I've lived there for a while now. And if you know Vermont, you know that they have really good maple syrup. So we obviously would have maple syrup on our pancakes too. Sometimes my grandma would serve them with a little bit of like creme fraiche or sour cream and some scallions, or also with chives or a little caviar or something like that. You could definitely do savory. And my grandma actually this past summer showed me how to make these stuffed Swedish pancakes with this really delicious creamy shrimp sauce, and very good, covered in cheese. There's a lot of different things you can do with the Swedish pancakes, especially because I don't add any sugar to the batter. They definitely can be savory too. You can see here a lot of the raspberries have kind of broken down, mainly because I've crushed them. I'm gonna let this sit for probably another 5 minutes or so, 5 to 8 minutes. It's so funny, breakfast culture in Sweden is really different than in the US. Like, it's not really like you don't go out to brunch in the same way or breakfast in the same way. There's really only been a handful of times where I've gone out to breakfast with my family when I'm there.
So like in Sweden, you don't go out for lunch?
Not really. It probably depends on who you ask, and I think it's becoming more popular now. Swedes are really interested in American culture, so now bagels are coming to Sweden, and there's actually a new brunch spot that opened in Malmö where my family lives, and it's like an American diner. So they have American pancakes and all that stuff, and people love that. But for breakfast, it's a lot more common to just stay at home and you have like eggs. Usually a lot of people don't eat like scrambled eggs until midday. It's a lot of soft-boiled eggs and mini egg cups. It looks perfect. I'm gonna set this aside and I'm gonna start on the batter. I want to take a quick coffee break with our sponsor Pronamel, the toothpaste or tandkräm that helps me enjoy fika without stressing about my teeth. I recently learned that enamel is actually the strongest substance in our body, protecting our teeth from the damages that can be caused by acids and sugary foods. Using Pronamel Clinical Enamel Strength in the morning or before testing recipes helps provide 3 times stronger enamel protection, which is great, especially since fika always includes coffee and a sweet treat, and you know I love my coffee or 2 or 3. You can get Pronamel Clinical Enamel Strength on Amazon, at your local retailer, or learn more on pronamel.us. The jam is cooling down and now we're gonna move on to the batter. You want to get a big bowl. Oftentimes I pick a bowl that's a little bit too small, but this is really easy. You only need a few ingredients. I have a little bit of all-purpose flour, and you'll notice the amount of flour that I have to milk is way different than when you would make American pancakes, because obviously we want these to be way thinner. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add only half the milk to start. And I also forgot that we need to add a little bit of salt. Big, generous pinch of salt here. So I'm gonna add a little bit more. You don't have to do this, but it's just something that I like to do. I just feel like it makes it a little bit easier to make it super smooth. I mean, there's honestly not a huge amount of differences between a Swedish pancake and a French crepe. I will say, I think Swedish pancakes are a little bit softer and a little bit more delicate too. I think sometimes crepes have a little bit of sugar in them too, which, I mean, you can definitely add sugar here too if you like a little bit of that sweetness, but I like to keep my pancake batters unsweetened and also my whipped cream unsweetened. I also feel like French crepes are served maybe with different toppings. I feel like when I think of a crepe, I think of like banana, Nutella, like those kinds of things. But obviously, I think sugar and lemon juice is also a big thing there. Now the batter is pretty smooth. A lot of the flour clumps are gone. I'm gonna add the rest of the milk. And also while I'm making the batter, I also have my pan preheating on the side. Looks like a lot of milk, but I want the batter to be really thin. Actually, one thing that my mom and I would get in disagreements about was she used to make pancakes for us all the time growing up. She would make them a lot for us before school, which was really nice. But she would make them a bit thicker and it always bothered me for some reason. So sometimes when she wasn't looking, I would go and add more milk just to make it thinner. I just like a really, really thin crepe or pancake. I'm gonna go in with 3 eggs now. I love my mom, but baking is not one of her strongest suits. I think like I learned how to bake from my grandmas. I feel like that's a very traditional thing. I feel like a lot of people learn how to bake and cook from their grandmas and their family members. And then I also just watch a lot of Food Network, which is also very common. Sometimes, honestly, I will add a little bit of vanilla. I'm just keeping it very simple for this recipe though. I wonder if we're gonna get a good first pancake, because I feel like the first pancake is always the worst. Usually it kind of depends on how many people are around, but I feel like everybody likes to have at least 2 pancakes. Today, I think we're gonna try to make around 18, but we'll see, because I know there's a lot of people in the office that hopefully are hungry, but it really depends. You could obviously half this recipe if you want, or if you're serving a bigger crowd or you're serving really hungry kids, then you can double this recipe too. And the best thing about it is you can leave the batter in the fridge overnight. If you do want to make pancakes in the morning instead of for fika in the afternoon, you could just put the batter in the fridge and then take it out in the mornings. You can see here now, just because we mixed the milk and the flour first, there is really no flour clumps and it's super, super smooth. And I know it looks really thin, but trust me, don't add more flour because this is gonna make the pancakes really, really thin and delicate. Sometimes I like to put the pancakes on a cooling rack, depending on how many I'm making. But for this, I'm just gonna stack them right onto this serving plate. I have the pan preheating over medium heat, and I'm gonna add a little bit of butter. I am always inclined to add more than I need. And a non-stick pan definitely helps here when you're making pancakes. One thing you can also do if you're worried about your pancakes sticking to the pan, maybe if you don't have a super non-stick one, is you can melt a little bit of butter and add it directly into the pancake batter. I didn't feel like I need to do that, or I don't do that as much just because I try to use the really non-stick ones, but that's a thing that you can do just in case. I'm gonna add about 1/4 of a cup. Now I like my crepes, or I like my pancakes really big, so I like to swirl the batter out all the way to the edge. And now it just cooks for about 1 to 2 minutes until you see the edges kind of curling away from the sides, and you can see that it's nice and brown on the bottom. And you can see here how thin it is. It's almost slightly translucent. For birthdays, a lot too, when we were little, my mom would make pancake cakes. So she would take pancakes and stack them between and layer them with whipped cream and raspberry or strawberry jam and make like a really big pancake cake. And it's so funny because now I've been seeing it a lot on like Instagram and TikTok, like a crepe cake. Yeah, it's just, that was always such an easy kind of birthday cake and always so good. I feel like a pancake batter is really easy to just kind of make up in a way. You kind of go by feel. One thing though is you can kind of tell if you have a good pancake batter by the structures. If you notice that the pancake is kind of falling apart too easily when you're cooking it, you haven't added enough egg. So if you're just making it without a recipe, if you notice that, you can just add 1 more egg and it should be fine. And oh, this is really brown on the bottom. I'm gonna flip this now. I like to also use my hands just to kind of pick it up a little bit and check bottom. Here, if I'll pull it up, you guys can see. Maybe a little more. I love when I've added like a little bit too much butter and it kind of fries the pancake in the butter and you get more holes along the pancake and it's so good. I think I'm gonna slide it off onto the plate now. Obviously, use your discretion when it comes to adding more butter. If you feel like the pan looks a little dry, add a little bit more. If you feel like there's still some butter on there, you don't have to. I feel like the fun thing about pancakes or Swedish pancakes is the way you eat them. Sometimes you can fold them up into like a little triangle, but my favorite way, and I feel like the most classic traditional way, is to just do like a line of raspberry jam or whatever filling that you have and roll them up and eat it like a little, I don't know what, and just eat it with your hands, I guess. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna slide it on off to the plate. Usually this is like the perfect size in my opinion. You can obviously make them smaller. There's also kind of a smaller version of a Swedish pancake. It's called the plural would be plättar. And you have a special kind of skillet that has all these has 5 or 6 mini pancake sections in it. So those are really mini pancakes. But I feel like this is pretty standard. It really depends on your skillet and what you prefer. So I'm on the last pancake. This batch made about 18 or so, but obviously it depends on the size of your skillet. So you can kind of make between like 15 to 25 even if you want. I kind of started making them bigger towards the end because I wanted them a little bigger. And this is the last one. We have a really nice little stack here. This looks so good. And I personally love the way the edges kind of curl up a little bit too. I think these layers look especially nice when you do make a pancake cake because you can see the little layers of cream and the layers of jam in between, and then you just have these little delicate layers sticking up on the sides. I'm gonna clear everything and set up a little Fika station. I'm also gonna whip some cream, unsweetened, of course, and get the jam and maybe get some sugar and make some coffee and see if people are around to come try some pancakes. For serving, sometimes I like to dust a little bit of powdered sugar on top just because I think it looks really nice. And so now we have our stack of pancakes. We have some whipped cream that we whipped, and I like to leave my whipped cream unsweetened because I feel like everything else is so sweet, but you can obviously add some sugar if you want. I have the raspberry jam we made earlier, and then we also have some coffee that I just brewed. I'm starving. I'm really excited to try pancake. This first one is definitely gonna be a little bit sugary, but I don't mind. First, a little layer of jam. And you can see now that it really did thicken up quite a lot as it sat. So I'm gonna just spread a little line down the side. We go in with whipped cream, my favorite ingredient ever. And then I'm just gonna roll it up. And again, you don't have to eat it this way. You could fold it into a triangle if you want, but I think this is the most fun way. And then I like to sometimes just eat it with my hands. Look at that. So good. I could definitely eat a lot of these, but I'm gonna see who else is around in the office to come and enjoy some fika with me.
Kanisha, wake up eat. How do we do it?
Okay, so these are Swedish pancakes. It's pretty much like a crepe almost. And so you do a little bit of jam and then a little bit of whipped cream. And there's some powdered sugar. There's some regular sugar to sprinkle on top if you want. Skål!
It's really good. Amazing.
If you want to make this recipe, you can find it on food52.com. And thank you so much for watching this episode of What's for Fika, and I will see you in the next episode.